This Honor Magic 8 Pro has all the headline grabbing specs you expect from a flagship in 2026, but that's the case for pretty much every flagship, right? So what separates this phone, which costs £1,099 here in the UK, from the rest? Well, we've been using it and testing it for a number of weeks, and there's one thing that we did stand out that will genuinely shock you. The design element of the Magic 8 Pro is a near carbon copy of the Magic 7 Pro, save for a couple of small things. You still get a pretty large camera housing, but there's now this really nice knurling around the actual housing itself, which feels really good. And then there's the addition of a button along the frame, which we'll get to in a second. And then the display up front, it's a 6.71 inch, 6000 nits of peak brightness, and it's a true standout display because you get something that you're not going to see on a lot of places is that really high peak brightness does not dilute the colors in any way. So indoors or outdoors, this works really well with great visibility. But when you brush back content in here, you get deeply rich experiences with great colors, punchy levels of detail, and vibrancy as well. Then the display itself supports 4320 Hz of PWM dimming. So what that means, it's better for your eyes at night and reduces eye fatigue. But Honor has actually committed an entire section relating to eye care, essentially, on its settings. And you can find a variety of functions on here, such as blue light, defocus, as well as motion sickness relief. And that all lives within Honor Eye Comfort display, something that is entirely unique to just this Honor device. So in terms of the cameras, let's talk about those. So this has a standout triple camera. You get a 50 megapixel main, 50 megapixel ultra wide, 200 megapixel periscope telephoto. But how does it compare to something like what we would say is the best flagship overall, the X9 Pro, especially at low light, as that is one of the main selling points of the Honor Magic 8 Pro? Well, personally, it performs a little bit better, offering slightly more sharper, detailed images when it comes to low light photography. But we're going to run through a couple of samples here, and we want you to let us know your opinion on which of these you think is best. And while you're there, comment below, like and subscribe, and support our 50K journey in 2026. And then day-to-day photo-wise, how does the cameras perform overall? Well, that main lens, images during the day produce a lot of great detail with no noise at all. The images themselves may look a bit too vibrant and bright, but it doesn't really diminish the overall quality of the image in any way. And then dynamic range is excellent as well. There is a lot of AI at work here, but that AI image processing doesn't really impact the natural look and feel of the image itself. It's not overly sharpened or create weird AI smoothing that you sometimes get. The main lens itself, regardless, is top tier and right up there with the absolute best. Then the telephoto lens is a 200 megapixel sensor and delivers really nice colors, well balanced, and overall really good dynamic range. They may not have been the most sharpest, and they maybe lacks that extra layer of vibrancy that you get on the main lens, but they still look really good and generally sharp. What I would say is, as soon as you zoom further up the focal length, say past 10x, you do lose some of that overall sharpness, but that's to be expected. Unfortunately, something to do with the processing, which maybe they can fix in post. The ultra wide though is amazing. It's probably just as impressive as that main lens, delivering really good quality, tons of detail, excellent sharpness, and again doesn't have any other artificial look. And then dynamic range again is really good. The video aspect is probably one of the biggest letdowns when it comes to the camera system as a whole, and that is because you get decent quality. I would say it's good, not great, because generally it looks soft and is not the sharpest, and to an extent it lacks that color saturation that you find in the main and ultra wide. I do wonder though if those complaints around the zoom in the telephoto and the overall quality in the video of this 8 Pro's lens, if that can be fixed through a software update rather than being any limitations in terms of its hardware. And then speaking of software, this runs Android 16 Magic OS 10 out of box, and we do have to point out one key thing that I would say is starting to become a negative, and that is the OS itself mimics liquid glass from Apple a lot, and I mean a lot. In fact, if you watch the promo for the launch of the OS itself, it looked like they'd just gone and Control-C, Control-V'd, which is copy and paste for those Windows users, a literal Apple commercial and just popped them some Honor icons. Is actually nuts. But then the OS as a whole works really, really well. You get tons of customization on here. Again, very similar to what you find in a lot of OSs like ColorOS, iOS, and even Samsung's One UI. You get a lot of customization options, and it still retains a lot of those really, really great AI features. Things like Magic Portal. So here you can essentially draw around an image, drag it into, say, your notes or your gallery in this instance, and then you'll see it in your appear in your gallery later on as well. This is really good, quick way of just grabbing something that you want to refer to later on, and works very, very well. In terms of OS support as well, to touch on that, 7 years of OS support. So 2033 is when this phone will stop getting support. And I will say that is very likely to happen because the CPU is just that good, which we'll get to later in this review. Other new additions on the AI front is something called a Magic Sidebar. Essentially, if you pull and hold, you'll get a pop-up menu, and that gives you a ton of options, things like Honor AI. One key addition here is something called AI Memories, very similar to the plus key on OnePlus devices and the essential key on Nothing devices. Essentially here you can tap this and hold it down, and it will actually save whatever you're seeing visually on the screen. Works somewhat well. Worked well, for example, on a Zika website or on an image. Didn't work as well in terms of its formatting on other components. As you'd expect, the Honor Magic 8 Pro is powered by the latest from Snapdragon, the 8 Elite Gen 5, and it's an absolute beast. But one thing to note here is, as you have seen in all the reviews containing that CPU, is you do get some significant throttling under heavy load. So running this through 3D Mark's Lifestyle Extreme test, you do see around 55% stability, which does indicate under heavy load throttling. In terms of battery usage and consumption using that test is business as usual, as you'd expect, and then a temperature increase is again as you'd expect. What I would say though, gaming wise, if you were to play games such as this as Call of Duty, it's gonna run butter smooth. So this is maxed out graphics, stable 60 frames per second, no issue at all. And gaming on this is really, really good. You get excellent graphic fidelity, smooth frame rates, never does it drop anywhere below 60 to be honest, and it runs really, really well, and it's an absolute monster. And if you combine that with the top and bottom firing speakers, you get a really, really top end gaming experience. The battery on the Magic 8 Pro is 7,200 milliamp hours. Actually, wait, it's not. It's actually 6,270 milliamp hours. The one in China, unfortunately, gets you 7,200 milliamp hours, which is a huge drop off, roughly give or take 1,000 milliamp hours, which is a massive shame. But regardless, you still retain that 100 watts of wired charging. So in real world terms, if you are going to be using this phone, we don't do actually any battery testing. That's something that's coming up in the future, hopefully. You will get really, really good overall performance in terms of battery life. How good? Well, you get over 27 hours of video playback and 11 hours of gaming, which means this is an absolute beast when it comes to consuming content or playing games on the daily if you wanted to. If you're just a regular user, say 4 hours a day of screen on time, roughly 4 to 5 hours, you're comfortably going to get probably a day and 3/4 or 2 days of battery life out of that silicon carbon battery, and then 100 watts wire charging will recharges super quick. Then there's the button along the frame that we mentioned here. Now it may just look like a camera control button, but actually it doubles up as so many other things. You actually can program this to have 3 different functions. For example, function 1 we had as Google Lens, a single click. Double click will give you camera, and that you can then use a click on this to then capture the camera, zoom, etc. And then click and hold will give you Gemini on screen, including a quick access to search as well, circle to search, sorry, as well. So that is a really, really interesting implementation. It's fully customizable in the menu as well, and Honor have committed to actually expanding this further forward. So I think this integration of an AI key slash camera control key slash assistant key is a really, really cool trick that hopefully will filter down to other devices who use a similar control. So the Magic 8 Pro is a very subtle upgrade over the Magic 7 Pro, but where it counts, the upgrades are significant. You get a more refined camera experience, and I think there's significant changes in terms of how good it looks over last year's. But the other key components I think on here that are significant are things like the much larger battery, faster charging, silicon carbon batteries, again I believe last one was, this is still retaining that as well, and then other things like on AI and the addition of the magic button all point to a phone that has grown a lot more for the mass market, and a lot of what you're seeing on here isn't just junk, it's significant upgrades. So I think in 2026 this Honor Magic 8 Pro will still be a standout device pretty much throughout the entire year, and it's still one to consider if you're looking for that bleeding edge top tier flagship in 2026. But let us know in the comment section below your thoughts on this flagship Honor device. Is it something you would buy? What do you think about the price? Or are you going to wait to see what Samsung bring out in a couple of weeks and then compare and contrast and then maybe drop the hammer and buy one then? Let us know in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and also join us on our 50K journey in 2026. Until the next one, as always, we out.